Hey, everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive,
So today we're tackling something that I know a lot of you are worried about.
especially those of you with kids or who work with kids.
Right.
It's all over the news, right? Social media and its impact on young people, and well, it can be a lot.
It really can.
There are a lot of potential negatives that come with all the positives of social media, right?
Absolutely.
We had a listener write in and specifically ask for a deep dive into this topic.
Okay.
So we're diving into a few articles today to try to figure out what's really going on here.
In the articles we read, there were a few things that popped up over and over again. Things like unrealistic beauty standards,
Yes.
cyberbullying, the constant pressure to get likes and followers. I mean, it's a lot for anyone to handle, but especially for kids and teens who are, still figuring things
That's
out.
developing, yeah.
So to help us unpack all of this, I've got an expert here with us today.
Hi, everyone.
And more importantly, our expert's going to help us come up with some real strategies that you can use to protect the kids in your life. So let's jump right in.
That was good.
The first thing that comes to mind for most of us when we talk about social media is screen time.
Yeah.
And almost like a reflex, we say too much screen time is bad. But I'm wondering, what's the real concern here?
You're right. It's sort of the knee-jerk reaction, isn't it?
Yeah.
Limit screen time. But it's not simply about the amount of time. It's more nuanced than that. It's about what's happening during that screen time, what kids are actually doing online, and how it's affecting them.
That makes sense.
Think about social media. It's designed to keep you hooked. The constant notifications, the endless scrolling, the dopamine rush you get every time someone likes your post or you get a new follower.
Yeah,
It's almost like a slot machine in your pocket.
it really is.
And for developing brains, this can be especially tricky. There's a lot of research out there now that links excessive social media use and increased anxiety, trouble sleeping, and even lower self-esteem in kids.
You mentioned developing brains. It's like they get wired for this constant stimulation, right? And then they can't focus on anything else.
Exactly.
And honestly, I've noticed even with adults, it can be hard to put the phone down sometimes.
Absolutely. Everyone struggles with this, no matter what your age.
So when we talk about setting limits, it's not about being a dictator, right?
Right.
It's about helping kids understand how to manage this really powerful technology.
I agree. One of the organizations I really respect, the American Academy of Pediatrics, recommends no more than 1 to 2 hours a day of screen time for school-age children.
1 to 2 hours.
And that includes everything, not just social media. So TV, video games, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you actually enforce that?
Like, how do you get kids to actually put their phones down?
Well, one really practical strategy is to create what I call sacred spaces.
Okay.
These are designated times and places in your home where screens are off limits.
Got it.
So think dinner table, bedrooms after a certain hour, maybe even a device-free hour each evening where everyone in the family unplugs.
Ooh, I like that. A device-free hour.
It not only reduces screen time, it also creates opportunities for real-life connection
Yeah.
and better sleep habits, which is a huge one.
Yeah, speaking of sleep, that's a big one.
The blue light from screens can really mess with melatonin production, which makes it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep.
I've read about that.
So it's not just about like the time spent online, it's about like the quality of sleep they're missing out on.
Exactly.
It's a domino effect.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we're setting limits, creating those sacred spaces, the device-free hour.
What else?
Here's something I think a lot of people miss. It's not just about how much time kids spend online, but what they're doing with that time. Are they passively scrolling, just consuming content, or are they actively engaging in ways that benefit them?
So what does that look like?
I mean, let's be real. You open up Instagram and it's all, filtered selfies
Yeah.
and people showing off their like perfect lives. It's hard enough for adults to see through that, let alone kids.
It is. And there's a real risk
Yeah.
of kids comparing themselves to these curated versions of reality, these highlight reels, and feeling inadequate. That's why it's crucial to be proactive about the content they're consuming.
Okay, so how do we do that?
I always recommend helping them find accounts that are uplifting and focus on real-life stuff.
Okay.
Accounts that celebrate diversity, promote hobbies, or teach them something new. There are tons of great creators out there sharing positive messages.
I love that idea.
It's like curating a mini positive world for them online.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about the trickier stuff, like cyberbullying, right? Or inappropriate content?
Right. When it comes to those tougher topics, open communication is absolutely key. It's about creating a space where they feel safe coming to you with anything they encounter online without fear of judgment or, having their devices taken away.
It's like that saying, judge less, listen more. Right.
Yes, exactly.
But how do you actually start those conversations? Like every time I try to talk to my niece about her online life, I just get a shrug and an eye roll.
Teenagers.
Yeah.
I think the best approach is to be curious and non-judgmental.
Okay.
Instead of grilling them, about every little thing, ask open-ended questions like, what's been happening on TikTok lately?
I see.
Or is there anything you've seen online that's made you feel uncomfortable or weird?
Okay.
And when they do open up, even if it seems minor to you, listen without interrupting
Got it.
or dismissing their feelings.
That's good advice.
Validation goes a long way.
That makes so much sense. It's about building trust so they know they can come to you.
Exactly. And, it's not just about talking to them. It's about paying attention to changes in their behavior offline.
What do you mean?
Are they suddenly withdrawing from activities they used to enjoy? Are they more irritable or anxious than usual? These could be signs that something's going on online, and it's a cue to check in with them.
Okay, so to recap what we've covered, we're setting healthy limits on screen time, being mindful of the content they're consuming, and keeping those lines of communication open. That feels way more manageable than just saying, limit screen time.
I agree. I think this is a much more holistic approach, and it really boils down to empowering kids to be thoughtful and responsible digital citizens.
I like that.
And remember, this is an ongoing conversation. What works today might need tweaking tomorrow, and that's okay.
It's all about adapting. So we've learned a lot today. I'm feeling much more prepared to have these conversations with my niece now. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a little something to ponder.
Okay, fire away.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
What are some creative ways to help your child explore their passions offline?
That's a great question. I think it's all about helping them find what lights them up in the real world. Maybe it's building robots, volunteering at an animal shelter, learning to play the ukulele, or joining a sports team.
Yeah,
The point is to help them discover who they are and what they love beyond the screen.
I love that. Such a great reminder. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. I hope you walked away with some practical tips and a renewed sense of how to support the young people in your life. Thanks for listening.